Have you ever felt that your efforts as a parent go completely unnoticed? Today, we're going to explore how even the smallest acts of kindness can create waves of change in your family and beyond. In this episode, you'll discover the incredible power you hold to light up your home and the world around you. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm your host, Kendra Nielsen, and today we're exploring a powerful concept that can transform our lives and the world around us. This was inspired from a quote I came across in my studying this week by St. Francis of Assisi, and he said this: "All of the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle." Isn't that so beautiful? I read that several times when I was studying, and I'm like, oh man, that's incredible. All the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle. As parents, it's so easy to get stuck in the mundane and struggle seeing the big picture. I know that happens for me all the time. But today I want to talk about what it means to be that light and how that can lead us to greater fulfillment as parents and spouses. I want to start with this story, and this is from a Japanese diplomat from the 1940s, and he was stationed in Lithuania. So when the Nazis tightened their grip on Europe, faced this moral dilemma that he talked about. And despite orders from his government, he started issuing transit visas to Jews that were fleeing because of persecution. And for 29 days straight, he wrote visas by hand. And he barely slept, he barely ate, because he knew that each one of these documents could save a life. So he defied his government, and as a result of that light of his courage, he ended up saving about 6,000 people. He was determined to follow his conscience, and because he did that, he was able to save thousands of people. Now, I recognize most of us are not going to be able to save 6,000 people because this situation is not a common day occurrence, but I want to go back to his story a little bit later and talk about how he continued to shine and inspire others. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what it means to light the world. I don't know about you, but as a parent, that feels almost impossible. Yeah, I can help people in my home, but even that, it feels often so minimal. Being a light in the world means a few different things. It also means standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult. And I can think of many times that I wish I would have been courageous enough to do, like in my master's program when there was so much animosity towards Christian beliefs. And I started to stay quiet because I was so tired of feeling that animosity, and I didn't always stand up for myself and my beliefs. It means showing kindness and compassion to others, especially when they're struggling, despite what we're going through. It also means using your unique talents and gifts to make a positive impact. The Dalai Lama once said something that I really love that's pretty funny, actually. And this is what he said: "If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito." This reminds us that even the smallest actions can have a significant impact, even when we don't think they do. Again, I think about parenting, and in my journey, and I'm sure in yours, you just feel all the things you're saying and doing are really not making much of an impact. And sometimes they even seem to go the other way because you're saying it. And it's hard not to get discouraged sometimes. Before I go into that, though, I want to share a few historical examples of lights in the world, because I don't know about you, but I feel motivated when I hear stories, and those are the things that I remember. Do you guys remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Some of you might be too young to remember that, but Mr. Rogers, he's pretty iconic. He revolutionized children's television because he talked about difficult things that most people were not talking about, like divorce and death and racism and things like that. And he explained it in a way that kids could understand, and also taught the parents how to address these challenges in a gentle, loving way and increase that emotional intelligence for generations. And I loved his positive influence when it wasn't something that was really addressed at the time. There's an author that also did something very simple, but very impactful. His name was Dr. Benjamin Spock, and he wrote the book, The Common Sense Book of Baby and Child Care. And you probably have not read that book before. But in this book, he encouraged parents to trust their instincts and treat children with respect. And he really challenged that strict parenting that was the norm at the time and really started to change that culture. So over time, people became more gentle parents. And that was just with one book and one person. Another simple example is from Erin Gruwell. So as her first year as a high school teacher, she really inspired her at-risk students to become these passionate learners and writers. And she showed them how to write about their experiences in a way that helped them process their trauma and find greater hope. And this chronicled the Freedom Writer's Diary and has gone on to help so many troubled teens. Again, just a small, simple thing that one person did to change the lives of so many people. So maybe these feel too big to you. Maybe you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to write a TV show, or I'm not going to be teaching all these high school classes or writing a book or anything like that. But these are great stories. So instead, I want to share some smaller examples. The first thing I thought of when I was thinking about this was one time we were on a family trip, and often as younger parents, we had to pinch pennies, and we just tried to get creative, especially when we were traveling to go visit family or do whatever, that we just did it very frugally. And one time we stopped at Subway, and the 6 of us were sharing 2 sandwiches, and we were just counting out pennies or doing something like that, just like we typically did, no big deal. But the cashier was a high school student. She was very happy and sweet. And as we were giving her our money, she said, "It's okay. Don't worry about it." And we said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Oh, I took care of it already." Like she, out of her own pocket, paid for this family of 6 to eat their meal without stressing about it. Every time I think about that, I just think, what a beautiful, amazing, and I get teary-eyed and I just think something is so simple, but serving a whole family and probably feeling a little bit shy or embarrassed as a high schooler doing this for a family. And yet she went out of her way to do that. And I love those simple examples of just changing people's lives in such a simple way that she probably didn't even think about again. And yet I can't stop thinking about that girl, about her simple service that continues to be an example for me. Here are just a couple more examples. For an entire year after a woman lost her husband, she received a card every week from a coworker with encouraging messages. And that simple act of consistent support helped this widow through this very difficult time, which lasts much longer than after the funeral. So many people give their well wishes, but this woman took the time to do it for an entire year for her coworker. I just think that is so beautiful, so loving. And of course, this woman would never forget, and how she would likely even pay that forward. I have another example of a high school student. So a high school student noticed a girl crying alone in the bathroom and offered her some support, even gave her a number so they could talk later. And it ended up that this small act ended up preventing a suicide that she was planning. Again, that's just so touching, a simple thing that we can do, and we have no idea where it will lead. Another very simple thing was a mechanic was unable to fix a college student's air conditioner before they were taking a long trip. So instead, he filled up their gas and left $7 on their seat. Just a very small thing. And yet how it impacted that college student, just feeling touched that somebody would care enough to do those extra things for them. And then one last example, this is another personal one that was a little bit bigger, but one that I continue to think about. One time when my husband was getting his master's, I was a stay-at-home mom. We lived in this small old house, and they had done all the electrical work wrong, and all of our appliances stopped working. Our heating stopped working. It was the middle of winter. We were very overwhelmed with things, and I had called the electrician to come over and look at it. When he came over, he explained that it would be, I think it was like a $2,000 or $3,000 fix, because he'd have to completely change the breaker box and redo a lot of the wiring. I didn't know this man, and I just started bawling, and I was really embarrassed. I was trying to cover it up, but I just thought, like, how can we afford that? Like, there's no way we can do that right now. And I think it was within 24 hours, someone anonymously dropped off a giant bag of candy and that exact amount to fix the breaker box. Now, I don't know if that was the electrician or somebody else. As I talked to people and tried to figure out what to do, I don't even remember the details. But I never did find out who did that. And it just continues to baffle me that a stranger would do something so kind for a family in time of need. I just think that's so beautiful, so touching. And I wonder how much that I've done to let my light shine. But yet I want to do more, which is why I created this episode today. So let's talk about the ripple effect of our light. My friends, we may never fully know how our light impacts others, but it's like throwing a pebble into a pond, and those ripples extend far beyond our immediate circle. It's like people at the gym, it's people at the store that are just kind when they don't need to be. Viktor Frankl, he wrote A Man's Search for Meaning. I really love a lot of the things that he said, but he is a Holocaust survivor and a psychiatrist. And he said this: "What is to give light must endure burning." At first, when I read that, I didn't really understand what that meant. But this means that being a light often requires sacrifice and perseverance. For example, I'm sure whoever anonymously donated that $2,000 or $3,000 for our circuit breaker had to sacrifice in some way. I'm sure they did. That's not simple, and I didn't know anyone really wealthy that would have likely just handed that over. And yet, how much it shifted and changed my view of things and helped me feel that I was not alone and that we would find a way through those challenges at the time. Here are some other very simple examples, and these are just hypothetical. But it could be a parent who patiently helps their child overcome learning difficulties or nurturing them in a way so that they can help others as that child grows. Or it might be a spouse who supports the partner when they need to do a career change or when they are going back to work or something like that. And then how that partner can go on to help so many others. It might be showing unconditional love to a teen and showing that genuine interest so that they end up being encouraged to keep trying and going to college maybe despite their fears and low self-esteem. And that happened to me. So you might be wondering, with all those examples, how we can be a light in our daily life when it feels like those might be hard to notice. There are simple things that you can do so that you can show up when that opportunity arises. The first thing you can do is remember that you can't pour from an empty cup. So take time to take care of yourself so you have the energy to care for others. I very much disregarded that for a long time, and I didn't feel like I had the energy or the bandwidth to help others. And as I did this, that changed. And it's changing more and more as I remember this. But it is something I have to consciously do so that I can show up in the way that I want to with others. The second thing is show kindness. So remember that it can be very simple, small things. That can be listening, that can be sharing a meal, that can be texting, volunteering a little bit of your time. Like we took a meal to a girl yesterday. It was a very busy day, but I thought, you know what? This is really not that big of a deal. And her mom has cancer. It's not something she's able to do for herself right now. And so we did it, and it really wasn't a big deal. The third thing you can do is stand up for what's right. So when you witness some sort of injustice, your voice does matter even in small settings, and people notice. And that also causes ripples. So whether somebody's being treated unfairly, whether there's some sort of underdog, or somebody is being critical of someone or some group, stand up and say something. The fourth simple thing you can do is use your talents. So maybe you're a problem solver or a creative thinker or an organizer. Whatever it is, use these gifts to make a positive impact. A quick story here. We just went to lunch with some friends, and one of my friends, she put together this beautiful gift basket for my best friend. And I just thought, man, that is such a simple thing, but everyone was smiling. And she said, everything in there is yellow. Everything is in there to make you smile. And I thought, that is such a beautiful gift to just creatively put something together that brings joy. And it's not one that I have, so I love that other people have those gifts. So use that gift. And last but not least, be present. So often just being there for someone is enough. Your presence can light someone's darkness, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to involve a lot of money, a lot of time, anything. It can simply be caring for and loving others and being present in that moment. So I want to return to that story of Chiun Sugihara. So his act of courage in Lithuania didn't just end with those days of writing visas, but the people he saved went on to have families of their own and contributed to their communities. And they passed on that story of that man who risked everything to help them. So his light continued to shine long after he was forced to leave his post and proved that one person's compassion can truly change the world. So I just want you to remember a few key things here. Your light, no matter how small it may seem, has the power to pierce someone else's darkness. The impact of your actions likely extends far beyond what you can see. Being a light in the world is not just about the grand gestures, but it's about those small, simple, consistent acts of kindness and courage. And last but not least, shining your light not only illuminates the path for others, but also increases your own fulfillment and your own sense of purpose. So I challenge you, my friends, to think about this. How will you let your light shine today? Remember, all the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle. And that candle, my friends, is you. That's all I have today. Don't forget to check out our courses on fulfillmenttherapy.org to help you take your life to the next level, whether that's our parenting course, Mend Your Marriage, our personal growth course, Ignite Your Life, or our parenting course, Heal Your Home. We also have 3 courses to help you start your own podcast and online business if you want to create passive income and become a light to others. That's Find Your Focus, Launch Your Podcast, and the next one that will be coming in January is Podcast Profit Mastermind. So that will help you really increase profit for your podcast. Check those out, and remember that everything we have here is also on our blog. If you want to go back and grab any of those quotes or any of those tips, you can find that on our website as well. Thanks for listening, my friends. I'll see you back here with a new episode every Monday and Thursday. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.